You guys, you are bothersome. You deserve a spanking. No, sorry. So I made a post yesterday evening before going to bed asking if you guys wanted me to show you sanding the guitar or if I should just skip it. Instead of giving me a clear answer, you know, like 100% no, 100% yes, you guys decided to go the middle ground and give me 50-50. So the ball ended up in my park. Anyway, hopefully when I'm done with this video and I'm editing it, I can take a look. And hopefully I can see that more people have pressed the we want this video. Because if the other side wins, then after this I'm going to be kind of like, you know? Anyway, we have the body, the guitar neck, you know, the guitar basically right here. And instead of showing you sanding it, I'm going to just go through what I'm going to do. So hopefully this video becomes a little bit shorter. Because it's the same issue that I run into with routing things. And that is that what I'm showing you is just me standing like this. You know, and it doesn't really tell you anything. But it's super hard to show you these machines in a way that will make you go, I understand everything now. But anyway, I'm gonna get you down here. Here we have the body. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold the machine and basically show you and talk to you about what I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna go and sand it off screen. And in that way, we can talk about some of the things that that I think you should think about, or maybe, and then I'll go and sand them, and the video will be done. We'll jump into the Q&A, and I've given you a proper chance to ask questions about, I don't know, maybe something that you want to talk about. So I'm gonna use two machines when I sand this machine. No, when I sand this guitar, and I'm gonna use sandpaper for my hand sanding, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I said that in a really strange way, but anyway, this is the first sanding machine that I'm going to use, and it's a Bosch PEX 400 AE. You can see it right there. And as far as Bosch Green goes, I think this is a really nice machine. When you use this sort of sanding machine, this thing spins, but it also moves like that. And that's so that you won't get any weird patterns that, you know, streaks or anything in the wood. You'll get an even nice sanding. But that is not completely true. Because if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're doing things the wrong way, you can get weird little swirl marks that looks sort of like tiny little pigtails, you know, like wow, you know. And it's hard to tell exactly how you do that, but with practice, you'll get your hand on it. I like to hold the machine sort of like this when I sand. Maybe I should remove the handle. You're supposed to hold it like this, you know, one hand here, you know, or maybe here and here, but I kind of hold it like this, or this. And I don't put a lot of pressure on it. I kind of let the machine do its work. And because if you press down and you're like, force it around like this, and then you'll get weird marks, and you'll not do anything good, and you'll clog up your sandpaper because, you know, you're pressing it down into the grain and the grain doesn't have anywhere to go. And yeah, it's better to just let the weight of your hands be the thing that presses it down. Have a good grip of the machine so that, you know, you're not losing it or anything, but don't put a bunch of pressure into it, and then just go back and forth across the entire body. And if it's the first time you use the machine, I promise you'll get those little swirly marks. But just continue sanding with this, with the grain that you're going to use, and just try to get those out. You know, eventually you'll get those out, and then you'll know the technique. So just go. You'll find the pace that you have to go in, you know, because sometimes, you know, going a little bit too fast, you'll get those. And you just have to get into the sort of Zen kind of feel for it, where you're kind of like, oh, I'm calm and relaxed, and I'm in a good place to do this, and I'm just going through the sanding. And I use this machine for all the flat tops. So example, the top here of the guitar, this entire area here, I most likely will use it for this as well, but I'll come in from here, like this. So I won't go like that, because then I'll crush this upper area and start digging in. It's one of those things that is a little bit hard to explain, but you'll definitely notice it. You'll definitely notice it when you are doing the sanding, because you'll notice that. The same thing with the roundover. I go up to the edge like this, but I never go like that. And that's because it's going to just eat up this entire area. And since we've used the machine to get these to be perfect, you don't want to just eat it away and create a weird flat spot. This machine is made for big flat surfaces. If you're building a table, for example, you know, kitchen table or something like that, the perfect machine to sand that. Big, flat, open area, just go through it. I'm going to use it for the back as well. I'm going to use it for the head of the guitar, both the front and the back. But I'll move it up to the round scoop part, but I won't sand that. I'll stop just before, and then I'll hand sand the scoop. Yeah, the front and the back. And then I'll move on to my next sanding machine, which is going to be this one. And it's basically the same machine. This is the Bosch PSM 80A. It's a couple of years old. It's also a really nice machine, especially for being Boss green. And the reason why I'm going to use this is because there are some areas, for example right up here by the neck, where I won't reach with the other machine, and if I try, I'll most likely just go straight into the neck. So I'm going to try to go over here. Right here, the pickguard is going to be over, so I'm probably not going to sand it. I sanded this guitar body before I glued in the neck, so it's pretty nice and smooth. I took it up to 240, so I'm not going to overdo it. On this guitar build, we're not going to overdo with the sanding, because the finish that I'm going to experiment with, which is an experiment, will allow me to not have to sand too much. This machine is you can sand the flatness of the body, obviously not in here because you're not going to reach it, but I can go like that. And as long as I hold it straight and I'm careful to not go over the edges, because if you do the roundovers you destroy them with this as well. This is basically the same machine, just a smaller, more compact. It's not as good because it doesn't have the spinning and the weird swirly thing, it just has the swirly. But it doesn't really matter. I'm using it for all the little smaller parts. For example, right here, it's going to be easier to just go with this machine like this, you know. And I'll go over with sandpaper as well to sand everything smooth and nice. Now, there are a couple of things when it comes to sanding that I suggest you just sort of get into your head. Because it's very easy when you're doing something that you are not enjoying, and that is kind of gross in a certain way, because you get sand, the dust, you get it everywhere, and it feels gross. and it's annoying, and so it's very easy to want to skip steps. For example, you know, oh, I've sanded everything with 60 grit, and next one is I think 120 or something like that. But instead of going to 120, I'm just going to skip to 240. No, don't do that. You have to go through every step. Do everything for every step of sandpaper. You know? Because first you're just sanding to get everything nice, flat and even, making sure to make everything look good, basically. Then you're using the sandpapers to take out all the marks that the previous sandpaper left. So when you go from 180 to 240, maybe there's one in between. If I'm, I don't know. I don't remember on the top of my head. But you get the idea. You go through every step. You don't skip any. If you're unsure, then go to your local hardware store and look at the sandpapers and see if you can find every grit, because you need to sand every grit. And I promise you, it will take you a lot longer. It will take you 5-6 times longer if you skip one grit, because you're gonna have to sand out those so much. And it doesn't matter if you're doing it by hand or if you're doing it with a machine, or you know, you need to not skip grits. Do everything to the best of your ability with every grit. I've done this mistake. It's not even a mistake, really. I've been lazy so many times and had to go and just come back to the guitar and go, okay, I need to just redo everything, because that's where you're going to end up. If you skip grits, you're eventually going to have to just go like, okay, well, you know what? Let's go back to 60 grit and resand the entire body. And then after we've done 60, we're just going to go to 180 or 120 or whatever it is. And then go to 180 and then go to a 240 and then to 320 and then to 400, you know. So just don't do that. The next step, the next thing I would say is know when to stop. You know, just, you should know what sort of finish you are going to put on the guitar and what sort of look you want for the guitar before you're doing this. If you're just sort of winging it and you're going to like, no, once the guitar is completely done and it's time for painting, that's when I'm going to decide what to paint it. You're going to have a horrible time, because if you sand the guitar to 240 and then you prime it and seal up the wood and make it ready for the booth and be painted with colors, solid colors, and then a clear coat over, you will have to sand to a completely different level on the wood than if you are going to make something like an oil finish and have like the natural wood look to it. For example, if you're going to sand the guitar and prime it and do a solid color, you know, a sparkle finish or something, before you prime it, you don't have to sand that much. You could go up to 240 and stop. I don't think you need to go to 400 because you're going to prime it. You're going to put down a protective coat for the lacquer so it doesn't sink into the grain. You're going to completely cover that guitar, and then you're going to sand the primer before you paint the guitar. And so if you sand that up to like 400, 800, you know, you're not doing yourself a favor, because you're going to cover all that and seal it, and all those little marks and things will be covered up. You know, afterwards, when it's all dried and you're going to sand it before painting it, then you'll have to sand it, and maybe you start at 240 or something and you make it perfect. You go up to 800 or something, maybe even more, and then you can paint the guitar. So there is no point in in sanding up to 800 before you prime it. But if you, for example, are like, no, I'm going to do a true oil finish or teak oil finish, you know, I want to see the grain of the wood, I want to see the weird curled maple flame top that I've gotten, then you need to really sand, you know, because if you put finish on a guitar, you know, like oil or something like that, and you have scratches, they are not just going to be noticeable, they're going to pop out at you. I've done this before. I made a guitar, I don't know, 2014 maybe? I don't know. A really cool guitar. It had the electronics of an acoustic guitar built into it with a preamp and an EQ and all of that, and a bunch of other things. Anyway, from 5-6 meters, it looked really beautiful. But when you got closer, you could see that under that nice true oil, teak oil, you know, that sort of finish, whatever it was, underneath that super nice high gloss finish that I had built up and spent care of, you know, you could see around, because it had a burst as well, you know, like a sunburst thing on the edges, you could see the sanding marks, because I just hadn't done it good enough. And you need to do that. So you need to know the level of sanding you need to get to. And if you can make everything look nice, even, and the right way, then that's good. But you have to decide before you do this, you know, because you can get away with things if you know where you need to stop. But yeah, and always have everything, you know, planned out. And you can do, for example, you can sand a thing like a spare cut off piece of wood, a scrap piece. You can sand that as well, and you can try finishes on it if you're going to do oil things, like, oh, I've sanded it up to 400. What happens if I put some finish on this piece of wood? And then you can see, oh, yeah, I need to continue. 400 isn't enough. I need to go in even further. Another tip for you real quick here is you can put on a little bit of water on the guitar when you've sanded it up to the grit that you think you're done with. Let's say, for example, 400. You can dampen down the guitar. Just a little bit of water on the surface. Don't drench the guitar. Just, you know, put on a little bit of water and leave it to dry for 10 minutes or something, depending on how much water you put on. But when I say put on a little bit of water, I just mean like brush it on with a brush or something. It's just a little bit of water, and the grain will rise and it won't feel as smooth. But if you sand it again with 400 grit and go through everything again, then you will get an even nicer sanding. So it's like a super 400 grit sanding that you've done, and that's a good idea. Again, depends on what sort of level of sanding you need to do, because you don't necessarily have to do that unless you're putting on something, you know, like a clear coat of some sort, an oil finish or something like that, or, you know, a clear coat. I mean, so that's when it comes to sanding. I think that's all I have to say, really. I'm gonna go and sand this guitar now, and we'll jump into the Q&A. It's a little bit different. It's not really a vlog, this, but I don't really know if any of the videos have been a vlog video, technically speaking. But, you know, it's the first time I do this, so, you know. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. There's probably something more I can say about sanding. When it comes to, hand sanding. When it comes to hand sanding, I suggest finding good and nice sanding blocks that, you know, I have a short where I show you some sanding blocks that I made myself, so you know, you can do it yourself. But make sure you have sanding blocks for all the occasions, like the cut-ins on the upper horns. Have a sanding block that actually can reach in there, and just go through the grits. That's basically it. Just sand. When you sand by hand, just do light little motions, sort of mimicking the sander, and just go through it. Just go through it. Put on your favorite record or something, you know, and just listen to music or something and just go through the guitar. It's gonna take a couple of hours, but if you just let that be, you know, just allow it to take the time it wants to take, you're gonna love the guitar in the end. Because the hard, sad truth about building guitars is, even if you make a guitar that is 99% perfect, it's that one thing or those small little things that are going to be the things that bother you. You know, you're eventually gonna just go like, I can't take this anymore. I need to just redo my work and do it good. So yeah, if you can see scratch marks in your guitar that you made, eventually that's the only thing you're gonna see in your guitar, and you won't see the rest of the guitar, which might be super good and super beautiful, but it won't be for you. So just don't skip any steps. And when you sand by hand, go gently and easy. It's not a rasp. It's not a, you know, it's not a rasp. You don't need to hold things firmly and control the movement, but have a gentle touch where you know, and just, you can water it down or oil the guitar, which will allow you to see where you have, I think you can use spirit as well, just white spirit, because it gas off more, it gases off quickly. I don't know English enough. Sorry. To see the scratches if you find it hard to see them. But trust in the process also of like, I haven't sanded here, but even though I can't see any scratches or anything wrong with this area, I'm still gonna sand it because I need to go through the entire guitar and just sand it. And you can use pens to mark out where you've sanded and where you haven't sanded and things like that, you know. Yeah. Just, I don't really know what more else to say. What more else to say? It was a strange sentence. Thanks so much for watching, and have a nice day. Go and do some sanding and things like that. Wear a mask when you're sanding, but that's not really a part of the skill part. That's more of a part of, don't destroy your lungs. Maybe at some point, if you guys want to, I can talk about masks in another video. But yeah, I'm gonna go sand this